You can listen to The Professional Left wherever you get your podcasts, on Netroots Radio, or at our website, proleftpod.com, where you can also contribute to this podcast. There's a PayPal button at our website, or you can mail us a letter and or contribution at P.O. Box 9133, Springfield, Illinois, 62791.
This is the podcast for September 23rd, 2022. It's not safe for work.
Recorded live from the Cornfield Resistance, where we briefly considered inflating the value of our garage to $327 million. It's The Professional Left with Driftglass and Blue Gal. But decided against it. On balance, I think that was a good decision.
Wise decision.
Yeah.
I also told our 3 college and graduate school kids that perhaps they could write their term paper with their mind.
It's
important. If they just thought it.
I did a little post today because everybody else had taken a lot of other metaphors, but no one had touched the think system from the Music Man.
The Music Man.
You don't have to worry about notes or learning how to play an instrument. You just think the minuet in G, and you'll play it. And really, that literally is what it is. It's don't trouble yourself with procedures or putting things in writing. If you just think it, and you know what? I'm sure all the rubes on the right are going, yup, I'm sure that's exactly how everything works. Yup, indeed. And all they hear is their president playing a beautiful sonata and not a bunch of lying, treasonous, thieving bullshit, which is all that he's about. At the other end of the spectrum, you and I got boosted this week.
We got boosted and got our flu shots.
Yeah.
It was like a date.
It was a date.
It was a date.
It was a lovely date. We went out together and it was great, and no ill effects except for I was very tired the next day.
Yeah, tired.
So go get your shots. If you haven't already, what are you doing listening to this crap? Go right now. Drop everything.
Get your booster shot.
Unless you have a long waiting period, which is what we had. So,
yeah, well, and the CDC website has a search function for you to find vaccines near you.
Yeah.
And that is actually how we did it. I found, because we're Pfizer family, you know.
Yeah, we couldn't find actual Pfizer, so we found the dollar store knockoff called Pisser, which I'm pretty sure it's the same thing. It was a van by the river. The guy seemed very nice. All very hygienic, and I feel great. I feel just great.
Anyway, yeah, we're doing fine. We're glad to be boosted and have our flu shots. And then we came home and found out that it was a very bad week for Donald Trump.
It was very, very bad. Yeah.
So there are 2 stories out of New York this week, and it does bug me a little bit watching cable news and seeing how insular some of this is to reporters that, well, you know, it's Donald Trump and it's the New York AG and it's New York this and New York real estate, and nothing gets New Yorkers more revved up than real estate stories. So
so juicy.
So hot.
It's also a real story.
And it's also a real story. But let's start with the happy news out of New York.
Yeah.
Anybody who thought Joe Biden is somehow incapacitated by age did not see him at the UN this week.
Yes.
He appeared at the UN along with many other leaders from NATO, condemning Russia's efforts to erase Ukraine from the map after Putin threatened to use nuclear weapons, because he's stable that way. If Kyiv continues its efforts to reclaim occupied territory. Then Biden and his motorcade drove around Trump Tower 3 times playing Folsom Prison Blues. No, they did not.
Crank to 11. Crank to 11.
They didn't do that. Crank to 11. They did not do that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But the other story that happened in New York this week was...
there was another small going on. Apparently some courtroom
she said
drama.
It was going to be a major announcement, and, you know, it kind of was.
It was.
New York Attorney General Tish James. She was not just throwing the book at Trump. She threw the whole library at Trump. And she struck at the thing he values most in the world, his money and his reputation as a rich person. She is suing Donald Trump, Trump Jr., Ivanka Trump, Eric Trump, and other executives at the Trump Organization. This is a civil case. She has a 200-page lawsuit alleging that the Trumps enriched themselves through numerous acts of fraud and misrepresentations for more than a decade by grossly inflating Trump's net worth by billions of dollars and deceiving lenders, insurers, and tax authorities with false and misleading financial statements. The civil lawsuit seeks to permanently bar the entire Trump family from ever running a business in the state again, and about $250 million in penalties. It's interesting that that's exactly how much he has allegedly raised off Stop the Steal before the FBI search warrant was executed.
Yeah.
In addition, James said she believes Trump and his family business violated several state criminal laws and plausibly broke federal criminal laws as well. Her office has referred the matter to federal prosecutors in Manhattan and the IRS. The pattern of fraud that was used by Mr. Trump and the Trump Organization was astounding. And this did not come as a surprise to anyone who has been actually covering Donald Trump's finances. David K. Johnston, David Fairholdt, the writers at Spy Magazine in the 90s.
Yeah.
All of them had pieces of this.
Right.
And Donald Trump had leveraged his celebrity and his New Yorkerness, and frankly, probably his connection with the mob, to skate, to get away with this. The claim that everybody does it in New York, and, there are two sets of rules. This is something David K. Johnson said last night on 11th Hour. He said, no, really, there are two sets of rules. If you take a squirt gun into a bodega and rob them, you're going to go to prison. If you do what Donald Trump did and just cheat your way into bank loans, and your crimes are in the tens of millions of dollars, the chances are you're going to skate. You're going to hide behind lawyers. You're going to drag things out. You're going to settle, and you're going to get away with it. And what I liked about what David K. Johnson said, he said, this is economic inequality.
Yep.
It is economic inequality in that it takes resources and moves them to the top. All kinds of resources. Loan resources, housing resources, and legal resources are all concentrated among the ultra-rich. So we need to change that. And the other person that was on TV this week was Elizabeth Warren.
She was.
Talking about ways to structurally change how white-collar criminals skate on this sort of thing.
And if you squinted your eyes, you could basically, it was Omar from The Wire in court going, absolutely flummoxing the lawyer, the lawyer for the drug kingpins, saying, I was on the stand saying, I rob and killed drug dealers. And the lawyer's trying to make him feel bad and guilty, and you're supposed to take your word for it. He goes, hey, I do it with a gun, you do it with a briefcase. What's the difference? And that floored him, because that's absolutely true. The guy behind the briefcase was a much bigger, more insidious, more well-connected criminal than Omar ever was.
Right.
And Omar just called him out right in court. And everybody's like laughing because everybody knows he's dirty. Everybody knows he's dirty. But this was only one of 4 directions that Trump was hit, at least 4. I think Keith Olbermann counted 10, but I counted 4 this week alone. The New York Attorney General announcing she plans to toss the entire Trump organization, lock, stock, and Eric, into the fires of Mount Doom, which is great. The January 6th is booking a return engagement, so look forward to that in the next couple of weeks. The special master telling Trump's lawyers to put up or shut up and giving them less than a month to do it, which, is
very important.
Before the midterms. Everyone sees what they're doing and everyone knows, and they're not putting up with it. And the appellate court judge ruling that the Department of Justice could just go right ahead with its investigation into Trump's theft of classified documents, which is what he did. So, yay!
Yeah, and I'm really impressed with this Judge Deary not taking any crap in his courtroom.
Yeah.
And that this is, all of the burden is on the Trump lawyers to say, do you consider this executive privilege or not? And you have until October 21st to tell us, not counting the classified documents. This was the other part. You don't get your cake and eat it too. You don't get to say that I want all my classified documents back because I declassified them, and then not tell us which ones you declassified.
Because they're classified,
Because I can't. Because I need that for my defense when you guys actually charge me with crimes.
Well, and this is This is the oldest Republican trick in the world. I was writing about this in 2005 with the Guide for the Married Man, which is just deny everything. Just keep denying, keep lying, and run out the clock. And he is about to find out what Alex Jones found out, which is you can't bring a Trump rally bullshit to a court fight.
Yep.
And it doesn't work. And his lawyers, whatever, dollar store shithole he pulled them out of, don't seem to understand exactly how the law works. And they're just flinging anything they can at this. And they're basically Newsmax commentators in training.
Exactly. Yeah. And so in addition to Trump having this very bad week, he also had a rally in Ohio. Yes,
he did. Oh, God. Yeah. Oof.
Yeah. That terrified a lot of people. But I had in my mind predicted, I just thought it, Drift Glass, so it really happened.
It really happened. She declassified all of this with her mind.
Declassified and determined that I knew that Donald Trump would wind up QAnon.
Oh, sure.
And I think a lot of people did. Yeah. Because that is the last bastion of stupid people to grift.
Right. That's it.
They are going to have religious devotion and worship for Donald Trump and white supremacy and stupidity and numerology. And, the nickname for them on Reddit is Mark.
Yeah.
Whenever you have a QAnon person, his name is Mark because they're marks.
Yeah, because Trump is too long, so we'll just call him Mark.
Trump is too long, so we're just going to call them Marks. And so, of course, Donald Trump was going to ultimately nod to these people who worship him as a god and raise their fingers. Hal Sparks said for the proctology exam.
Yeah. Just FYI, you can't see this. I'm raising my finger right now, Blue.
Oh, see, in your mind or in real?
I'm raising two of them, as a matter of fact. Yeah. Just,
on either side of your head and waving them up and down.
I am vigorously.
So, but this alarmed a lot of people because this is the kind of worship that Hitler got, and Keith Olbermann did a whole episode on Donald Trump is America's Hitler, and you can't deny this anymore and so forth. And it's like, yeah, but, QAnon has been this fringe Nazi-ish worship searching for meaning group for a number of years.
Yeah. And it's made up of an aggregate of a bunch of other crackpot racists.
Very racist groups of people.
Which we used to just call the Republican base. It was a very simple.
We used to, the John Birch Society, the Birchers, and it's those people. So you responded to me about this in a very clear way, and I really appreciated it. You brought me back to earth because I was just saying, of course, Donald Trump is going with QAnon because this is the bottom of the barrel, and he's scraping the bottom of the barrel for the last dollar he can milk out of American,
of course,
people. But you said that's not really the question that matters. The question that matters is what are the institutional Republicans going to do about it? And the answer is nothing.
Nothing at all. They have lashed themselves to the mast, and they're going over the falls with them. Come hell or high water. And they might, at the last moment, jump and give themselves body and soul to Ron DeSantis, who is just as awful, just a little slicker. But the result is the same.
Yeah, and you and I both know that Kevin McCarthy has no loyalty except to his own power.
Oh, no.
And so he's embracing Marjorie Taylor Greene this week, a person who sits on no committees, has no bills out there, except maybe one to impeach Joe Biden. And he is, as you said, latching himself to her leg because he wants to be speaker.
Yep.
And so, and he's doing all of the things that the far right wants done.
Right.
Except releasing all of the plans was an accident, Drift Glass.
Yeah, it was.
Did you see the slideshow was released by accident?
Oopsie doopsie. That was not supposed to happen. Yeah. Well, they run a smooth operation there. And he's, standing outside of the vortex of bigotry and lunacy. You can see exactly what's happening. Same thing happened to Boehner. Same thing happened to Paul Ryan. They lusted after these positions their entire life. They couldn't. This was the apex of their dreams for themselves. And then they found out that the mob runs the seat, not the other way around. And they couldn't control the mob they had helped create. They had pandered to them and fed them and pandered to them and fed them to get the seat that they wanted. And then they discovered far too late they couldn't control it, which is the Republican Party story of the GOP going back for decades. In fact, I'm test driving a new feature that you and I might spin off as a second Patreon podcast, as part of a second Patreon podcast. And the working title, I'm not married to it, but the working title is Snarkyology. Snarkyology 101 is when we take a deep dive into what was actually going on during the before time versus the mythology that has been created by pundits and by never Trumpers and by people who don't want to remember those times about the before time. And so this week, I did three of those, and the one I want to...
Now, do you mean by the before time Trump coming down the escalator? Is that what you consider the before time?
That's the line of demarcation.
The cutting off point. I figured. Okay.
But this time I went back exactly 10 years, which was the height of the 2012 presidential election. And I wrote a post called The Public History of a Campaign That Failed, which is a ripoff of a Mark Twain title. And basically it comes down to a real simple remembering shit that happened. And that was Mitt Romney, his campaign was going down in flames. And since that time, we have been told, I pulled some information from Vox, from Zach Beauchamp or Beecham, as one of the area people around here call themselves, about the Romney martyr myth, which is, since that time, a whole bunch of people have come up with the idea, including Tim Alberta from Politico, that it was the left's treatment of Romney that numbed the electorate to the real valid concerns about character 4 years later. And there's other examples in the article of like Noah Rothman, no surprise. These stereotypes Democrats fabricated to assail Romney helped inoculate Trump against similar charges. That's the mythology.
Really?
And you hear this shit on your favorite Never Trump podcast, people you see on MSNBC all the time. If only Romney had been elected, we could have avoided all this, because leadership matters, Blue Gal. And maybe, it's worth considering that maybe the left's brutal mistreatment of the Romney people and the Romney campaign and slanderous tactics, a scandalous, never before seen in history, that might be what happened. And it just so happens that exactly 10 years ago was the week when I wrote a post called Even David Brooks, because that was the week that David Brooks finally bailed on Romney's doomed, incompetent campaign, which triggered an avalanche of Even David Brooks follow-ons from pundits across the spectrum, from the Maddow blog and Joan Walsh to Joe Scarborough and Scott Brown, because Mitt Romney had this little thing about 47% of the country being takers and moochers
and
and he fucked up the debates where he called out Barack Obama for not using the word terrorist till 2 weeks later. And Obama just said, "Please proceed, Governor." And,
right.
And then they read the transcript, and he had lied about that. Except I'm sure he lied. He just believed what they were saying on Fox, which is always a mistake.
Yeah.
But the point being, a whole bunch of people who now claim that Romney was crucified by the cruel left bailed on his ass in September of 2012 because his campaign was a fucking disaster.
It was.
Because of things that he said and did. The things that he said and did in public. And all the people who wanted to say shit about him all along, all of them, right down the line, again, all those people preceded their comments with, even David Brooks says Mitt Romney's doing. Even David Brooks. I have to agree with David Brooks. David Brooks speaks for me. And never has David Brooks done such a service for the Republic than giving cover to Joe Scarborough to bail on Mitt Romney. But that was 10 years ago. 10 years later, it was the left that ruined this good man's life. And let's all remember, if it wasn't for the left scandalously attacking Romney, we might not even have had Trump, because it's always got to be the fucking liberals' fault. Always. And that's a regular feature I hope to bring to perhaps another podcast coming soon.
All right. We're going to look back at 10 years ago.
Yeah, give or take.
Kind of thing on this week or something like that. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to thank Stacey Abrams this week for calling bullshit publicly on the so-called heartbeat argument in the anti-choice movement.
Oh, yeah.
She was on stage and said, look, 6-week fetuses don't have a heartbeat. There's a machine generating that sound, and it makes parents who are sentimental about their first pregnancy feel wonderful. Oh, look, I can hear this. And it's not true. And the amazing thing is, a number of doctors came out publicly to agree with her.
Yes.
Say, as I said on Twitter, lab technicians can create that cardiac activity in a petri dish.
Right.
You see that cardiac activity in a fertilized egg. You see so-called cardiac activity. There's no heart muscle there. There's not a heartbeat. And Stacey Abrams was just very clear that this is a Madison Avenue style stunt word, right? A claim to milk sentimentality out of the public for political gain. And it's time for it to stop, because it's simply there to control women.
You're telling me that if I hear a fetus at 4 weeks singing Mantovani, then that's not real? No, it's not real. Oh.
It's not real.
It's being piped in by some tech somewhere?
Some tech is piping in the Mantovani music.
I get fooled by that every time.
I know.
Speaking of barely carbon-based life forms, Bret Baier might have been...
Bret Baier is the serious face of Fox Actual News, I heard.
He's the one that CNN would... Look at Bret Baier. Look what he's doing. We should all do that. We should all be more like Bret Baier. And Bret Baier might have been the last carbon-based life form at Fox, whose reputation hasn't been irrevocably corroded by his years at Fox News, so that maybe he could still get a job elsewhere. And then the story broke that Bret Baier, quote, wanted the network to withdraw its famous call for the Arizona for Joe Biden on election night 2020, citing pressure from Donald Trump's campaign and saying the swing state should be, quote, put back in his column. Yeah, we should cheat the results on our TV network to give the mob what they want to hear. Otherwise, it'll be bad for us. In 2020, a brief reminder, Arizona was never close for Trump, but Fox is terrified of rising competition from competitors like Newsmax. Baier reportedly, quote, accused the Fox News decision desk of holding on for pride and adding, it's hurting us. The sooner we pull it, even if it gives us major egg, I think that means egg in their face.
Egg in the face, right.
And we put it back in Trump's column, the better we are, in my opinion. And that's
and let's face it, Bret Baier was right.
Yeah. Oh no,
Bret Baier was right from the standpoint of keeping their audience, because I suspect Bret Baier remembered the past, remembered 2012.
Yes, he did.
When for 3 days before Election Day, Fox News had on pundit after pundit after pundit predicting a landslide for Romney.
Landslide for Romney. Karl Rove. Karl Rove has the math. He has the numbers.
Yeah.
And they sold their audience it was going to be a landslide because that's what their audience wanted to hear.
And so their audience could stay home on Election Day.
Right. Well, it's going to be great. He's going to win. It'll be great. The Kenyan usurper will be tossed out.
Because he's so bad, we can't possibly realize. America won't do that, right?
They won't stand for that.
They won't have Obama for 4 more years. Oh my God!
Well, and now you're just teasing a next episode of Snarkyology from me about letters I pulled from my own archives from Wingnuts from 2012 about this very election.
Yeah.
But I'll talk about that at some later date.
And people stopped watching Fox for like 10 days.
Right. They boycotted it.
Because they were depressed about the election. They didn't want to watch news because they were depressed about it. And I really do think that formulated a lot of what is going on with Trump, which is, at least Trump fights. He's not going to accept a loss like Romney did. That's weak.
And another point that really needs to be underscored is that if there had been a single competitor to Mitt Romney, rather than having the whack job vote spread out among Newt Gingrich and 4 other assholes, Romney would have lost.
He would have lost.
Romney would have lost because the base fucking hated him. They hated Romney. They hated everything about him. He was everything about the party they disliked.
Yeah.
And he was foisted on them by party establishment who still believed look, your job is, as the party base, we feed you racist bullshit and lies and bullshit and nonsense and flatter you and call you patriotic, and you go to the fucking polls and vote for who we tell you to vote for.
Well, and this is my sense of what really happened in 2016, which is Reince Priebus was just too weak to tell he wouldn't tell Newt Gingrich, you've got to release 10 years of tax returns. Because Newt's tax returns look like shit too.
Oh, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do.
You know whose tax returns are pristine and perfect for
Dick
presidential candidate? Dick fucking Cheney.
Dick Cheney knows how to do paperwork.
And Mike Pence. Mike Pence gives 10.00% of his salary and all earnings to charity.
Yep, it's right there in the document.
It's right there and documented and proven.
Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton, same
are
thing.
Immaculate. But
because you're running for office, and Dick Cheney knows he's got to have his financial paperwork look beautiful. He pays a lot of people to make it look good for him.
And in 2012, the aftermath of 2012, two halves of the nuclear reactor came together and it destroyed everything. And the first half was, you guys have spent 40 years, 20 years, 6 years, 4 years telling us that Barack Obama is a Kenyan usurping monster who wants to murder my white grandmother. Wasn't even born here. He's a commie. His wife is a welfare cheat. He is the epitome of evil. And we must do everything we can to stop him. And yet you guys put up this stiff, empty CEO who probably is the guy who outsourced my company. Right. Expect me to vote for him. Fine, I'll fucking vote for him. And then you voted for him, and then he lost. You told us that Barack Obama was the most dangerous existential threat the country had ever faced, and then you lost to him. And that's when they said, fuck it, next time I'm electing the meanest, most racist scumbag I can lay my it's Donald Trump. Looky. Perfect. Typecasted. He's exactly what Romney is not. He made Romney grovel for a job. Romney had literally hugged him and sucked up to him.
He fights back. He'll fight back for me because he's fighting back against all these Republicans who failed me in the past.
And he knows Barack Obama wasn't born here.
A Kenyan usurper.
He'll tell the truth.
Right.
Anyway, moving on.
And the same station that Brett Baer works for also gave Donald Trump a solid hour last night, Wednesday night, on prime time with Hannity.
Yeah.
Lie and lie and lie and lie. And so my question isn't about Trump being on with Hannity, because that's boring.
Yeah.
I want to know if Hannity is an investor in Trump's golf courses.
Yeah. Does he have a financial stake?
Yeah. Because, other people have gotten in big trouble at other networks for that.
Yeah. Well, those are other networks, aren't they?
And Hannity doesn't have to disclose where he's putting his money.
No.
And he walked around the Washington, D.C. golf course with Lindsey Graham and Donald Trump looking at the improvements that were going to have to be made for the LIV golf tournament for the Saudis.
Uh-huh.
Is he an investor in Trump's golf club?
Good question. You're just asking the question.
I'm just asking the question. I'm just cavoodling here.
Speaking of actual news, shall we get to the news roundup?
It's time to get to the news roundup. The Bidening continues.
The Bidening does continue. At least a dozen Republican candidates for governor and Senate would not commit to accepting the results of their contests. On the Democratic side, however, all 19 nominees said they would accept the outcome of the November results.
That should disqualify you if you don't believe that you have to earn every vote you get.
Oh, there you go shooting, honey. That's adorable.
It appears that Trump's legal team has once again not just, you should read this, Driftglass.
I will. It appears that Trump's legal team has once again not just shot itself in the dick, but shot itself in the dick with a flare gun when they agreed to the appointment of Eastern District New York senior judge Raymond Dearie as the special master in the Trump stole classified nuclear secrets case. The Trump's legal team's strategy seems to have been to assert a lot of nonsense and then scoff at the idea they had to prove any of it, like a mini Trump rally, except federal court is not a Trump rally. Via Slate, here's the headline: Trump's pick for the Mar-a-Lago special master was a spectacular own goal. Yes, it was.
And Dearie's timeline assumes the government knows what classified means, which was surprising to the Trump lawyers. And Deary demanded that both sides review and make their claims about the rest of the documents, not the classified documents. Because the classified documents, the government said they're classified. And the Trump lawyers were asked, well, what is your argument here? Because you're the ones bringing this case. And they go, well, we don't want to tell you.
I don't know. I don't know.
We're saving that for another special case. And the judge said, well, I'm done here.
Yeah, this is real easy.
So yes, Judge Deary demands that both sides review and make their claims about the rest of the documents. Are they executive privilege? Here, you're going to both get copies, electronic copies of these. Each page is going to be numbered. You have to look at them, do a spreadsheet showing whether you think they're okay to give back to the government. You're claiming executive privilege. You're saying something else about them, and you have to note that. And you have until October 21st, period.
So move it, people.
Yeah, he's not playing. If you don't have it by October 21st, you're in contempt. So, I mean, he's just not playing around. Republicans are talking openly about tanking Joe Manchin's permitting plan. Senate Republicans say Joe Manchin can't count on them to save his energy permitting deal with Democratic leaders, potentially upending efforts to attach his proposal to a must-pass government funding bill. And there was one commenter on Twitter who made a really good point. Does it increase carbon emissions? Don't do it. It's pretty simple.
I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit and bring you breaking Kristen Sinema news. Kristen Sinema has succeeded, because it's Joe Manchin, right? Has succeeded in making herself unpopular with everyone. She is now 20 points underwater among Democrats, 10 points underwater with independents, and 18 points underwater with Republicans. So way to go, Kristen. You've pissed off literally everyone.
Yep. Steve M. at No More Mr. Nice blog said Herschel Walker's good polling reinforces his belief that many Republicans see wife or girlfriend beating as normal and unobjectionable. It's the misogyny, stupid.
That's right.
Online influencers say that, but I think this is Steve M saying this. Online influencers say that, but I think someone like Tucker could easily go mainstream with the idea of wife beating.
Mm-hmm.
The way he did with Great Replacement Theory. Absolutely.
Oh, and you should do this next one, because your prediction bore itself out.
I predicted, yes. This is something, I noticed Keith Olbermann using have his cake and eat it too, and then the judge said that the next day, and so that gave Keith Olbermann something to crow about. Well, I said one day this week that Lindsey Graham was filming Oppo video for the Democratic Party by going on Fox and saying, oh, no, it's not a states' rights issue. After all, abortion, we should have a 15-week ban. And then the next day, the Democratic Party released an ad using Lindsey Graham's appearance on Fox and Friends. So that was kind of funny.
Well, and the both appearances, because his appearance on August 7th was, I've been consistent. I think states should decide the issue of marriage and states should decide the issue of abortion. And then September 20th, this is not a states' rights issue. So God bless Lindsey Graham and whatever the hell he's drinking.
I wonder if part of this isn't Mitch McConnell announcing, and certainly his colleagues know, that if he's not majority leader in January, he's going to retire. And so he's an absolute lame duck because everybody knows that he's not going to be majority leader.
Right. And
so a lot of what's happening here with people not towing a party line to Mitch McConnell, both Rick Scott and Lindsey Graham, they aren't towing the Mitch McConnell line.
There is no more party line.
And there is no party line because Mitch McConnell's leaving. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar announced he has opened a criminal investigation into what he describes as 48 Venezuelan migrants who were lured, exploited, and hoodwinked into a flight to Martha's Vineyard, quote, under false pretenses by a, quote, bird dog hired by Florida, where they were left to fend for themselves.
And this Ron DeSantis thing, where he had to tell an audience that, no, these Venezuelan migrants are only coming to Florida in onesies, twosies.
Right.
So I had to get them from Texas to embarrass the libs. And he sent a Fox News camera crew to meet them.
Yeah, the Fox News camera, and now he's fundraising off of it because cruelty. And these were asylum seekers, perfectly
They're here legally.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you know what? There are lots of states and lots of locales. And someone was on one of the Newsmax whores was on Twitter today, saying, "Well, Joe Biden has shipped 500,000 illegals all over the country, and you're not crying about that." Like, no. These are asylum seekers who have been relocated to places where they mostly have family. They're awaiting their adjudication. That's normal. Now, the system is broken, but the system is broken because Republicans like it that way. And have kept
they've
it
had
broken.
multiple opportunities to fix the immigration system, and they won't do it because their base likes to hate brown people.
Yes, they do. And they like to make liberal, they like to own the libs by pointing out that, look at all the people that Joe Biden is deporting. Look at all the fentanyl that is being intercepted. And all of us on this side of that, like, aren't those things you think are good? Don't you think seizing lots of drugs before they make it? And, I got to ask.
Biden's Border Patrol is doing a great job seizing that fentanyl before it gets into the American market.
Are you all on fentanyl and you're dying for a fix and they're being cut off? Because that just mystifies me. But apparently it works with the same idiots who will vote for Trump again. So who are you and I to judge?
A new Tim Ryan ad helpfully reminds Ohio voters that J.D. Vance believes kids prefer domestic violence to divorce.
Yeah, what a guy. GOP county official in Georgia and operatives working with Trump attorney Sidney Powell spent hours inside a restricted area of local elections office on the day voting systems there were breached. This is per surveillance video obtained by CNN.
They are caught dead to rights. Absolutely.
They sure as shit are.
Republican Representative Don Bacon said that his House colleagues and I are very concerned that the deeply flawed and unfair policy of blanket student loan forgiveness will also weaken our most powerful recruiting tool at the precise moment we are experiencing a crisis in military recruiting.
Yeah. How are you going to force them to join the military? If you help them go to college and don't exploit their poverty, how are you going to get them to force them to go to the military?
And die.
And and die or risk death or loss of limb and life and trauma. I vividly recall all of the, chicken hawks and the 101st Chairborne college students back during the Iraq War when a videographer, I can't remember his name, and it's killing me that I don't, went to a big Republican gathering of draft age eligible Republican assholes right across the street from Arlington National Cemetery. And they had all kinds of excuses why they weren't going over to Iraq, why I can serve my country better here, working as a congressperson's intern. And I think speech writing is more important. And, we got to fight them over there before they come over here. But, I got into college and it's always the same with these people. They do not give a
same. I'm finding it really interesting. It's the same in Russia, too.
Yeah.
This is a universal thing.
Oh,
we're willing to rattle our sabers as long as we can sit in our own living room.
Yeah.
And if you're going to conscript us into serving in the military, we're going to do everything we can to fly out of this motherland of ours and leave.
No. We did not sign up for this, Vladimir. Oh, yes, you did. Oh, yes, you did.
Yeah.
This week, MAGA activists staged what amounted to a denial of service attack on the VA Suicide Prevention Crisis Hotline when they flooded the system and tied up operators with calls demanding the reinstatement of VA benefits for the January 6th criminals.
They didn't understand what a crisis hotline was.
They didn't care.
And they didn't care.
They didn't care. None of these people fucking care about any of the things they claim to care about.
Tennessee state rep, guess which gender, guess which race, told a constituent, guess which party.
Yeah, guess which party first, and then work your way down the decision
tree.
Guess
which gender, and then guess which race this person was. Told a constituent that discarding any of her embryos from IVF would be a violation of the state's abortion ban, which is a felony punishable by up to 15 years in prison.
Yep.
This is a woman trying desperately to get pregnant, desperate to be a mother, having physical, medical difficulty to the point that she spent thousands of dollars of her own money
Mm-hmm.
IVF is not generally covered by insurance.
Mm-hmm.
You spend thousands of... I've been through infertility treatment. It is painful. It is emotionally painful. It's difficult physically to go through this. And for this party to tell these particular women who are desperate to have children that they're baby killers.
Right. If they don't
because of a medical procedure.
If they don't carry 32 viable embryos to term.
I think all these embryos should be implanted in that Tennessee state rep's asshole.
Yeah, well, okay. I'm right there with you, Blue Gal. In their most pathetic plea for attention yet, the Daily Wire announced a plan to make a movie about the life of Malcolm X starring Michael Knowles as the civil rights leader. Quote, the left keeps casting black actors as white characters, Matt Walsh told reporters. Now we're fighting back. This is the same Matt Walsh who joined Tucker Carlson in trying to incite violence against Children's Hospital by spreading the lie that Children's Hospital was mutilating children. So far, this has led to 2 bomb threats and numerous personal threats against staff.
The Justice Department charged 47 defendants with stealing $240 million from a federal program that provided food for needy children during the pandemic, the largest COVID-19 related fraud to date, not counting Steve Mnuchin.
Yeah,
I gotta say that. No one's investigated Steve Mnuchin and his friends yet.
Yeah.
This was a brazen scheme of staggering proportions, U.S. Attorney Andrew Luger said in a statement. Federal prosecutors said a network of individuals and organizations tied to Feeding Our Future, a Minnesota-based nonprofit, exploited a program designed to provide meals for underserved children, and that the defendants prioritized their own greed by purchasing luxury cars, houses, jewelry, and coastal resort property abroad. More than 125 million fake meals are at issue.
This is inexcusable. The Electoral Count Act, which is the legislation to prevent the same kind of fake elector bullshit that Republicans almost pulled off in 2020, passed the House of Representatives today on a nearly party line vote. The vote was 229 pro, 203 against, with only 9 Republicans joining Democrats in voting for the measure.
And J.B. Pritzker has pulled out of the Daily Herald candidate forum, which might sound like a dubious move until you read the letter his campaign manager, Mike Olin, sent to the publisher of the Daily Herald, Doug Ray. It reads in part, Dear Mr. Ray, I am writing on behalf of the JB for Governor campaign to express our extreme disappointment and utter shock. I don't think they were really shocked.
I don't think anyone was shocked, but
utter shock regarding Paddock Publications Incorporated, the employee-owned parent company of the Daily Herald, allegedly lending its bulk mail permit to a group called Local Government Information Services. As you know, LGIS is the right-wing organization headed by Republican political strategist Dan Proft that is responsible for the onslaught of fake and misleading newspaper-style mailers that have been arriving in mailboxes across Illinois. These mailers are specifically designed to mislead readers into thinking they are legitimate journalism, when in reality they are unlabeled ads attacking political candidates. Many residents who've received these pink slime reports shared that they have never subscribed to LGIS and had no interest in receiving them in the first place. These fake newspapers represent an existential threat to quality independent journalism, making it all the more unfathomable Paddock would cast its journalistic responsibility aside in the name of profit. Furthermore, by allowing these fraudulent mailers to share a mail permit with the Daily Herald, Paddock is actively undermining the good work that the legitimate reporters at the Daily Herald do every day to combat the rising wave of misinformation and fake news. Let me be clear. This is not an indictment of the hardworking journalists that accurately report the news for the Daily Herald. Rather, it is a 5-alarm fire for those who thought it was acceptable to inundate Illinoisans with partisan propaganda and downright lies, threatening the important role trusted journalism plays in our media ecosystem. We simply cannot participate in a forum organized by the same organization that seems to have willingly shared a postage permit with a partisan political entity dedicated to slandering the governor and his policies. Moreover, We believe that Paddock owes it to Daily Herald readers to publicly disclose exactly what arrangements were made with Dan Proft and the local government information services. Boom.
Boom. And the letter goes on for a few more paragraphs, but that is just a work of art.
Slime. There's slime.
And that is how you message. That is how you message to the partisan media. You write them a letter and then you leak it publicly and say,
kick them in the balls. You absolutely have to.
We absolutely will not go on Fox News as long as slanderous assholes like Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson work there. Period. Full stop.
And put the lives of hospital workers in danger and school teachers in danger.
That's how you do it.
Heinous lying. Hey, each week we post to our Facebook page and website an Internet Kitty sent in by you, the listeners. This week's Internet Kitty is Ahava. Ahava is a Turkish Van who lives under a sofa. I'm not surprised. I would too. If I was a Turkish Van, I would live under a sofa. That seems like the right place. Ahava demands freshly poured cat food, our fake sponsor. I have heard that Ahava is very vocal, like our own Bosco, who is also a Turkish Van. They're very vocal cats.
Yeah, they let you know.
And when you look at this picture of Ahava, I tell you, I know that thick white fur anywhere. Those Turkish Vans are very vocal, especially where food is involved. We made an appointment this week for all three of our cats to get their annual physicals. And the lady on the phone at the vet said, "So are you concerned about Bosco's weight?" And I said, "No, not really. He's 19 pounds.
Yeah.
That's not a concern to me."
And he arrived here about in that shape. And
he did.
That's what he's
going to be. We have 3 cats. We put food out for him, and they're on their own.
Yeah. Yep.
Not a concern. But the food is freshly poured every morning.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you serve pet store perfection or dollar store direct, your cats will sit on the kitchen floor and demand that the food they eat is only freshly poured. Freshly poured, freshly poured. Oh, my Lord, it's freshly poured. And you can visit Ahava at our Facebook page or website. You can send your Internet Kitty, dog, or other pet to us at our email address, proleftpodcast@gmail.com, where you can also write to both of us. Feel free to write us. We love hearing from you. Be aware that if you write to us at any of our addresses, we reserve the right to read your email or U.S. Postal Service. Go, postal unions. Letter on the air unless you say otherwise. #FireToJoy. Don't forget our gourmet coffee guideline. If you can afford to buy an espresso-based beverage for yourself, buy one for us. This is not charity. This is our job. We're in the middle of a Patreon fund drive. If you can join us on Patreon, we sure would appreciate it. We're trying to get 300 new Patreon subscribers so that we can provide you with more content in the new year. Approximately 1% of our listeners support this podcast with a contribution, and you can too. See our website, proleftpod.com, for details. PayPal, Patreon, postal address, it's all there at proleftpod.com. Shout out to Tammy, our angel nerd. She's having surgery this week. If there's any delay in getting the podcast up at Patreon or YouTube, that's what's going on. She's going through surgery. We love you, Tammy, and wishing you all the best.
Yes, indeed.
Please share our show on social media. And if you love this podcast, send us $5. That's a great way to vote for a podcast that you particularly liked. Thank you for doing that. Hey, Drift Class, how are the Internet Kitties doing this week?
Well, Blue Gal, the Internet Kitties wish everyone a happy autumnal equinox.
And you could say happy vernal equinox to everyone south of the equator.
That's true. And the Internet Kitties wish to add a happy vernal equinox to everyone south of the equator, like our friend Bill from The Bill Show.
That's right.
Let's think about living. Think about living. Let's think about loving. Think about loving. Let's think about the hooping and the hopping and the popping and the loving, loving, loving. Let's forget about the wine and the crying, the shooting and the dying, and the fellow with the switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life.
The Professional Left Podcast is recorded under a Creative Commons license. Copyright 2022, DGBG Productions Incorporated.